Welcome to another video here on the Giant Take Podcast YouTube channel, continuing from where we left off on the New York Giants head coach search, or head coaching search. We talked about in our last video, if you haven't checked it out, Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. And continuing with the Bills, we now, the Giants now interviewed Leslie Frazier yesterday when we're recording this on Saturday morning. He's the defensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, and I believe also the assistant coach. I'll go into more of it. I'll go into, his stats as a player, because that is what he was before transitioning to the coaching stage of things. He has had a long experience in the NFL, I believe more than 20 years, and this season was a highlight of his coaching career because, well, his defense was very good, and I'll get into that in a little bit. First of all, I have my co-host Alex here with me. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's kind of exciting that the head coaching search is kind of taking its first steps, and we'll have to see what the Shane Train decides, as you brought up to me in a previous video about the Shane Train comments that you've been seeing on Twitter. I kind of saw some of it, now I'm going with it.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see where the Shane Train stops. And it's stopping first at these Bills coordinators, so we'll have to see what happens with these two. But I think they're both very qualified. I personally said that I want an offensive guy,
right.
So Frazier's not exactly what I'd want, but I certainly think he'd be a solid coach. Maybe for a different team, not the Giants, who have offensive issues.
Interestingly enough, the Giants, I think, came out publicly mentioning both of those guys. If not, it was a report by a reporter. Maybe it was... I think maybe it was Jeremy Fowler. Someone mentioned whoever the reporter was, tied in that the Giants were interviewing Leslie Frazier and defensive coordinator for the Giants, Patrick Graham, for the head coaching job. Which, Alex, we have been stating since the end of the season that Patrick Graham needs a head coaching job. The guy's a very good defensive coordinator, and he deserves it. So interesting and good, I think, that the Giants are giving him a shot at a coaching head coach position. And then also what came out today is that the Bengals defensive coordinator, I have to find his name, I don't remember it off the top of my head, Lou Anarumo, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, and that defense has been playing much better than they look on paper, for sure. And
he interviewed for the job this morning. So Giants going after a few different defensive coordinators. Let's go into some specific stuff regarding Leslie Frazier. So he's going to also, or I think has already interviewed for both the Bears and the Giants head coach position. The Bills finished on top as the top defense in the NFL in this 2021 regular season. I'm looking to my side again. I think I mentioned it last video too, but I'm just reading it off my phone, so I wanted to make sure I have all the notes ready, but that's why I'm looking over here. Shane, I'm still getting used to that. Shane and Frazier joined the Buffalo Bills in 2017 and spent the last 5 seasons working together. The former, as a team, he was, I guess, the former assistant general manager as a team's assistant general manager, and the latter as defense and assistant coach in 2020. You know what? I'm trying my best here. We have the specific stats of the Bills this past season, so I wanted to go into that a little bit. So the Bills' defense finished first in NFL in several statistic categories, including they allowed the fewest points per game with 17, the fewest total yards, 272.8, and passing yards, 163 a game, fewest yards per play, 4.6, and first downs a game with 16.8. They also had the lowest opposing third down conversion percentage, 30.8 on 66 successes in 214 attempts. And also, I'm reading more. The Buffalo Bills are also tied for third with 30 takeaways and finished in the top 10 in that category in each of Frazier's 5 seasons as the defensive coordinator. So some big things to think about. Again, this was probably one of, if not the, biggest season for Leslie Frazier, but he's had a lot of them. So that's why I'm debating saying that statement with his 20-plus years in the NFL as a coach. So let's go into him a little bit. He's 62 years old and was a player in the NFL. He was a player for the Bears from 81 to 85. In his career, He played 65 games, had 20 interceptions, 1 sack, 2 fumble recoveries, 77 return yards, and 2 defensive touchdowns. I believe it was an injury that held him back past that point. It was cut short due to a knee injury he suffered returning a punt in the second quarter of the Super Bowl. He suffered the knee injury and was carried off the field. Surgery was conducted, and the damage revealed that to the knee included tears of a few different ligaments and a fractured bone under the kneecap, which unfortunately ended his NFL career. So painful thing there, but he moved on from that.
I thought you were about to read the different types of ligaments, and I was starting to laugh, but then I realized you weren't. So
I was not about to do that, though.
Good.
As a player, he was a Super Bowl champion, though. As a coach, he was also a Super Bowl champion. So, Alex, I guess I'll just read through this now real quick. So, as a coach, he started out with Trinity International University from 1988 to 1996 as their head coach. Moved on to the University of Illinois from 97 to 98. Then he went to the NFL. Started off with the Philadelphia Eagles from 99 to 2002 as their defensive backs coach. He was the defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals 2003-2004 seasons. He was then the Colts defensive assistant in 2005. He then got upgraded to the position in the 2006 season for the Colts as the assistant head coach and defensive backs coach. In 2007, went to the Vikings as their defensive coordinator. He was then the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator for the Vikings between 2008 and 2010. He was the interim head coach and then eventually the head coach from 2011 to 2013 for the Vikings. Didn't have such a great record and was eventually fired from there. His regular season head coaching record was 21-32-1 and 0-1 in his postseason career as a head coach for the Vikings. Then he went on to be the defensive coordinator of the Buccaneers from the 2014 to 2015 season, the secondary coach for the Ravens, and now, since 2017, he has been the assistant, or I think just this past season was awarded maybe, or like got upgraded to the assistant head coach, but has been the defensive coordinator of the Bills, I know, since 2017. So a big resume, Alex. I'll go to you. Why is that such a good thing?
Well, in terms of the head coaching experience, you like that he did have that, maybe successful, maybe not. Not successful, as we know. But it's certainly something to factor in, so I think that's a positive. You know, he's had a long career in coaching. I guess that's a positive thing. To me, it doesn't really matter about his qualifications. I just really don't want a defensive guy in here. You know, our defense has not been the problem recently. We just need this offense going. It's a passing league. It's an offensive league. We need an offensive-minded head coach to develop Daniel Jones, most likely our next quarterback. Or most likely our next quarterback, which won't be Daniel Jones. And that's just what needs to happen.
So for Frazier, he was successful in his coaching career.
Certainly qualified as a defensive guy. If we are going defensive guy, he's certainly up there.
In his second full year as a head coach, the Vikings improved to 10-6, making the playoffs, and it was the biggest single season turnaround in Vikings history, resulted in Frazier finishing fourth in voting for the NFL Coach of the Year, funny enough. They then exercised, the Vikings did, a fourth-year team option to keep Frazier under contract through 2014. Well, the following season, I believe in 2013, he was then fired because he had a 5-10-1 season. So it went down, but I mean, you know, we've seen success as a head coach, and we've seen a lot of success now, as I read this past season, as a defensive coordinator, and that is why he's getting interviewed by all these teams. And it's a good connection between Shane, as I mentioned. They spent a few years together in Buffalo, assisting each other. So Shane knows him well. Why not give him an interview just like they did Brian Dable? And starting it off well, we also have a few other, like we talked about, people that the Giants either interviewed or are going to interview. Brian Flores, Dan Quinn, Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator again for the Bengals, Lou Anarumo. So a few interesting candidates out there, and we'll have more videos on that, probably profiling other guys in the next few days. So for right now, please subscribe, drop a like. We really appreciate it. Go check out the other videos on the channel. And I want to say one more thing. Just like I know we talked about, I forget in what video it was, about Brian Flores and how happy we would be to have him as a head coach. I watched a video from Entertainer. I'm sure people watching know him, the Giants content creator. We've had him on the podcast before a while ago. And he was talking with a Miami Dolphins YouTuber, and he was just talking about all the reasons why the Giants shouldn't hire Brian Flores, and it was very interesting. The guy seems like a little bit of a Joe Judge because he tries to be Bill Belichick. He tries to be very demanding, and he doesn't like when people oppose his thoughts. So I thought that was very interesting. He's kind of a little bit of a control freak. And with Tua, when he didn't favor him, he runs the ball. When he wants Tua to go crazy, he has him throw the ball. And apparently, the Dolphins YouTuber was saying, I wish I remembered his name, but he was saying that after some weeks, Flores would not prepare for games with the assistant coaches. He cut them out, and he would prepare for games alone in his office. He would do all of his game notes for a significant time this season alone. So that probably had to do with the GM and why he fired him.
They did start winning after he probably did that, so I guess you can take that into account.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was very interesting, just the whole video, so definitely go check that out as well. But anyway, you can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at The Giant Take Pod, on Instagram and Facebook, The Giant Take Podcast. Alex on Twitter at Inorian23. I am on Twitter at JoshSolo29. Again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time for another video.